Hello, we're going to be talking about limiting or removing invasive species in the United States. So, what is an invasive species? According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, an invasive species is an organism that causes ecological or economic harm in a new environment where it is not native. So, simply put, is an organism introduced into a new environment where it's not native to. And an extreme example of this is a polar bear in the Caribbean. So what are the consequences of introducing native species in the United States or in any given area? Well, the consequences are terrible. It affects three main points. First, environmentally, it reduces the biodiversity in that area. Invasive species will physically go in and consume on the native species there, and some of those native species are keystone species, which the environment relies heavily upon to upkeep the environment. And when those species are not there, certain key natural resources might not be readily available, which will lead to water shortages and increased frequency of wildfires and floods. And this will negatively impact humans. And let's talk about farmers. Farmers rely on those key natural resources. So their land, and so when they're not there, their land's quality and value goes down. And when that happens, the crop that they produce won't be as sufficient as well. And if they have livestock, and if they depend on grazing lands, those grazing lands might not be sufficient enough to support their livestock. And because of this, they will receive less income, which will trickle down to the social impacts. Their livelihood options will be narrowed, and their food security has been damaged, and the list goes on and on. Absolutely terrible. So how many species are in the United States? Well, according to the 1999 Corn et al. Study, there are 4,300 different invasive species that are harming the United States. So we live in Florida. What are some of the local invasive species that we get to see? Well, in our waters, we have the lionfish, which is responsible for consuming certain keystone species that are responsible for taking care of our fragile coral reef ecosystems. The fish on the bottom is the Oscar, which is responsible for taking away the Florida largemouth bass food supply. The cane toad is responsible for killing predatory animals because they poison them. And the fire ant is responsible for killing hundreds and hundreds of native ant colonies. So how can we stop or at least alleviate the numbers of invasive species in the United States? And there's a reason why the Burmese python is on your screen. So may I introduce the Annual Invasive Species Hunting Program. This is going to be ran by the state government, and it's derived from the Florida python hunt. So the goal is to remove as many invasive species within a given amount of time. People will be rewarded for the category of species, so what kind, and they will be rewarded by whoever catches the most of that species and whoever catches the largest specimen of that species. This will be funded by the Fish and Wildlife Commission, just like the Florida Python Hunt and other organizations that wish to contribute. Possible rewards might be money, a trophy, and maybe based on the participants' consent, their catch can be harvested. So since this program is closely related to the Florida Python Hunt, there are drawbacks of it that this program can potentially face. Over a 7-year span, only 254 snakes have been caught, and that's a good thing, but pythons spawn approximately 20 to 100 eggs per year. And in such events, the participant count has never exceeded 2,000 in a year. And let's look back at those years: 2020, 2016, 2013. Those are the 3 most recent hunts that happened in memory. So we know that this does not happen annually, which means that this event doesn't happen as often enough. And from the participant count, we can tell that there is also a lack of support, and both factors will contribute into the lackluster numbers of pythons caught. So how can we overcome those potential shortcomings? Well, the first thing is to mandate the program to occur annually. We need to push for a stronger presence on social media and basically raise awareness to people about what's happening in their own backyards. We need to inspire and inform people to go out, and we need to gather interest horizontally by expanding our horizons by targeting all invasive species and not just a single one. And when people are interested and they put time and effort into solving the solution, it should lead to more efficient hunting methods in the long term. So the only way to really make this work is if we make it a priority and if we take matters into our own hands. Despite the shortcomings of this program, it's still a viable option because the programs similar to this have not been properly explored yet, so the concept still has high potential. And this may not eradicate all invasive species in the given area, but it will definitely open up the door to industrialize the practice of hunting invasive species. But still, more research and study needs to be put into this issue, and more support from any platform will help the cause. Thank you.